How's it going, Dave Comic Book Investments? So, I mean, it doesn't really bring me any joy because I love the Joker, but it's just there's nothing you can do but kind of laugh at laugh at the misery that it is Joker number two. So, the Joker number two, the movie had the biggest second weekend drop out of any superhero film ever. 81%. 81% for a second weekend. That is massive. To give you an example, the one below it, or I guess second place for the second biggest drop, was the Marvels, and that had a 78.1%. You want to know what had 70, like a little bit lower than that, like 77%, was Steel, the movie with Shaquille O'Neal. So the Marvels was the worst. Then it was Steel. Morbius had like a 73% drop. Flash had like a 72% second weekend drop. All these movies, Quantum Manium had like a 70% drop. So all these movies had pretty big drops. Generally speaking, if it's a big blockbuster movie, if you can be around 60%, that's pretty good. Just because your first weekend is, very front loaded with everyone going and seeing it. And if you're not a big big blockbuster movie, getting a 50% drop is really good. So yes, just massive drop for the Joker, and not that many people watched it to begin with. It had a not very big opening to begin with, and it actually moved down to the third spot. Number one was this clown movie, Terrifier 3. I don't really know too much about it, but people seem to love it. It had a $2 million budget and made $18 million opening weekend, and it had a marketing budget of $500,000. So whoever made that movie is swimming in the moolah. They're going to get themselves a couple of houses, a couple of yachts, because that's this opening weekend. It's going to continue to make more money. This is the Terrifier movie. And Joker had like $150 or $200 million budget. I can't remember, just ridiculous amounts, all because they had to pay Joaquin Phoenix and all that kind of stuff. And it's going to lose money. No one's going to see it. The worst is that Megalopolis movie. No one went and saw it. Oh man, that did terrible. The guy spent like $120 million of his own dollars, and it's finished. It's done. Like it's not really in the theaters anymore, and it made $10 million total. Imagine you take $120 million. No one wanted to fund this movie, the Megalopolis movie. No one wanted to fund it. He wanted to fund himself, so he spent his own money, and it flopped. And you can see why. No one wanted to fund this movie. But anyways, Joker 2, down 81%. Oh, man. So I figured I'd just say this to kind of talk about an overarching theme. Because Joker number one cost $50 million, went on to make $1 billion. And Joker is a huge character. People love the Joker. That movie went on to win Oscars, nominated for Best Picture, just tons and tons of all the good stuff that you could possibly want for it. So this one comes out and it does the exact opposite, like so bad. They give it a higher budget and it does worse. And I think, like people say superhero fatigue, that's dumb. That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. There's no such thing. What it is we live in an age, it's a broader statement. It's not superhero fatigue because just a few weeks ago, Deadpool and Wolverine made $1.5 billion. So massive hit. What it is, it's not superhero fatigue. That is dumb. That's saying people have movie fatigue in general. People just want to be entertained and they want a good movie, and also they want something that they want to watch, right? They want to watch these kinds of things. Like whatever it is that you want to watch, you have to be drawn to it. So the Joker in itself will draw people to watch it. Obviously, the first one, people really loved it, made $1 billion. Now, this one going in, people knew it was a musical. That turned a lot of people off. There's not that many musicals that make a lot of money. Why? Because music is very subjective, more so than movies. And, you can watch a movie. Like, here's the thing. You can sit there and picture this. You can watch some movie that you normally never watch, right? Let's say you're not really into romance movies. You'll sit there and you'll watch a romance movie with someone else, go to the movie if they really want it or something like that, right? You'll sit through a movie, even if people are like, oh, it's really good. But you will not sit through, and a movie's like 2 hours, hour and a half long. You will not sit through 3 albums. An album's usually a half hour to 45 minutes. 2 albums of a band that you really don't like, or a style that you really don't like. You will not. You won't even sit through one song, and it's like 3 minutes long. And you'll just be annoyed the whole time. So that's how it is. Like music is way more subjective than movies. Movies, like, it's more broad and you can be entertained by almost anything, even if like you don't like that genre. But it's like if you're really into, I don't know, like mellow music or something like that, and people are like, here, listen to three albums by this like ultra hardcore Megadeth, like, just like Norwegian black metal music. You will not sit through an hour and a half running through Mayhem's catalog from the 90s. You won't. 80s and 90s. I think they were 80s, yeah. You won't. And if you don't know that, is Norwegian black metal. You won't sit through that. No one would. If like you despise that type of music. But if you despise some kind of movie genre, it's like you'll sit through that still. More forgiving. So I think what it comes down to is with movies, since we have so many options, like you could literally sit. It's so funny. So I was watching Frasier, the old one, the original one. For some reason, I just randomly started rewatching it. I don't know. I liked it. I watched it when it was new, back in the 90s. And so I started watching it because it's on one of my streaming services. And they're having this argument. And he's like, okay, the argument has to stop because I have to go watch my program. It meant his TV, whatever the hell he's going to watch. And I was like, that's so interesting. Kids today will never understand that if you did not watch a show at a particular time in the 90s and 80s and 70s and stuff like that, you never saw it again. Like you might see it if it's a popular show and they do reruns. But even that was a new thing. Reruns were somewhat new. Later, obviously, they would put them on like DVDs and stuff like that. But in the early 90s, they did not. And then you also got TiVo and stuff like that where you could record a show. But when a show was on, it was on. And that was it. That was the only time you got to see it. That was it. So if you were watching some show, say Seinfeld, Frasier, or something like that, and you missed an episode, that's it. You don't know what happened. Maybe they would do a rerun. That was about it. And if you're lucky, a lot of times, if you went back further in time, they didn't do reruns. Same with like movies. Movies used to be in the theater, and that was it. There was no rentals, none of that. That started in the 80s. So if you watched a movie in the 70s, like Star Wars, that was it. That was the only time you got to watch it. And if you didn't, you never saw it again. And that's how people live their lives. Now it's like you can watch anything at any point. So now movies are competing. It's the same thing I tell about music. It's like bands these days, they're not competing with whatever band's current now. They're competing with every band that ever existed and ever recorded music. There's bands that you can listen to that made music in like 1903 that is on Spotify or YouTube or somewhere. That's who you're competing with. Now every time someone listens to that, they're not listening to one of your songs or, a modern band. There was, what was it? I don't remember this. It was like a hair metal band in the 80s. And they were talking about how the guy was talking about, he's like, in the 80s, I was about to sell my entire cat. And this was a very, very popular artist, very, very popular artist. And he's like, multiple hits and all this kind of stuff. But back in like 80s, 70s, 60s, all that kind of stuff, you made your hit albums. As soon as you did not have a hit anymore and the record label dropped you, you were done. There was no, hey, let me just grind it out and play my hits going on tour like they do now, like you can now. There was none of that. You were done. You just got a job somewhere else. And he was trying to sell his catalog for like $20,000 and no one wanted to buy it. And he said he's glad he hung on to it because now all that old music's coming back and he can still tour. There's a band that I listened to when I was, a kid, and All American Rejects, and they say they basically they don't write any new songs because people don't want to hear the new songs, so they just go on tour and play their old stuff. You couldn't do that back in the day. That didn't happen. You didn't have like a second life of Wind after you got dropped from a label. You were done. You were just done. So now you're competing with everything else that ever exists. So what bringing back to the Joker and the movies and all that kind of stuff is, yeah, just because you had a hit movie before, people will turn out. But they're less forgiving. They're not just going to watch something because they're like, I could watch a million other things that I want to watch. There's like 1,000 shows, 1,000 movies, every movie that ever existed. I have like a whole list of like, I'd like to watch that one day. And I just put it on my list. I never go to that list though. And so now like the Joker 2 comes out and you expect, I made $1 billion. This one should make close to the same. It's like, why? Why? If someone looks at it and goes, I don't want to watch it, that's it. There's people, they have so many options. They have so many options. So now you got to make movies. It's not just, it used to be, it's like, you could just take some boneheaded script, put a movie star on it, like Arnold Schwarzenegger, build it as that, and then boom, you got yourself guaranteed X amount of dollars opening night, opening weekend. That's all you use. There is none of that. You could have the biggest names and no one cares. No one, like Chris Pratt is one of the biggest names in like voice acting and regular acting. He did the Transformers 1 movie. as a voice actor. I mean, wait, he did Lego Movie, he did Mario Movie, and Garfield Movie. All those made hits. So you'd think, yes, this one's going to be a hit. Nope, wasn't a hit. It was a bomb. It was going to lose money. So it's like, you can't rely on stars. There is no stars. They might help a little bit, but not really. Not really. Stars don't have the same pull that they used to. And just putting out something and expecting people are going to show up, they're not going to. Even if it's a sequel or whatever, you have to make people, every movie you come out with, you got to make people want to watch it. It has to be something that they want to watch. So much so that they're willing to not watch probably the 50 other movies that are in the theaters or the 10,000 other things that they can watch on one of their streaming services. And with movies coming out so quick from, basically from the theaters to VOD, Amazon, and then straight to a streaming service, it's such a short window. It's like 3 weeks, 4 weeks, not even sometimes. And you can already rent it on Amazon for the price of a ticket. Or, you can wait maybe in a few weeks after that and it'll be on some streaming service. Like when I was growing up, this is how it worked. A movie would come out in theater, maybe go like 3 months or something like that, 6 months sometimes. And then it wasn't until 6 months or a year later that it came out for rent on VHS. That's how long you would have to wait sometimes, 6 months to a year, before it would come out for video rental. So if you wanted to go see it, you actually had to go see it. You couldn't. Now it's like, I don't want to watch Joker 2. It'll probably come on VOD, in the next like 2 weeks. Or I don't even want to pay for it there. I'll just wait for it, because I have HBO Max. I'll wait for it to come out on HBO Max in like, I don't know, like a month and 2 months from now. So you don't even have to wait that long. So you have to really give someone a reason to go out it. And Joker 2 did not deliver that. No one wanted to see a musical. Add to the fact that it had terrible reviews. But here's the thing. No one knows opening weekend if it's going to be bad. Right? You don't know if it's going to be bad until people go see it opening weekend and tell everyone it was bad. So not that many people showed up opening weekend. So what does that tell us? That tells us that the movie didn't look appealing to people. I mean, when people think the Joker, they're like, okay, I want the Heath Ledger Joker. I want a murderous Joker. I want, chaos Joker. And the first movie, okay, it gave like an interesting story, but now you're doing like, and he's not even the Joker. So it's just, I don't know. They dropped the ball big time. I don't even think the guy only did it because he got $20 million to do it, the director and writer. So, his heart wasn't in it. He could care less. He just did it for the money. Obviously, he wants to make something good, but he was like, whatever. I get to do whatever I want. Turned it into a musical, and not even a good one. So, yeah, I don't think there's superhero fatigue. It is not a case of, anything other than you made a crappy movie that people didn't want to see. Even on the trailers, they didn't want to see it. They're like, I don't want to see this movie. Joker in a trial, yeah, that's interesting. No, it is not. That is not interesting for people to see. And seeing someone's origin story in a different take for the first one, that was interesting. Seeing that now this Joker in a trial and it's a musical and it has Lady Gaga on it, like, that's what they did. They paid her $15 million thinking that they would get the women to come out and see it. That's not how it works. They pander. Pandering does not work. It does not work anymore. It just really doesn't. It doesn't work. It worked for before, like decades before, but it doesn't work anymore. People now have too many options and they don't care, and they learn a lot about things way beforehand. And so you have to make something appealing to them that they want to see. You have to actually make it where they want to see it, not just try to pander. Hey, we got Lady Gaga. She sells millions of tickets for her music. We'll have her singing this. No one cares. No one cares. No one cares. My favorite line from Jurassic Park is when Dennis Nedry, Wayne Knight, Dennis Nedry, he's sitting, I don't know, he's sitting at a bar or something like that with Dotson. And I always remember this. This is like one of my most quoted lines. And he's like, quiet about my name. He's like, Dotson, we got Dotson here. And he's like, see, no one cares, because no one does care. So that's it. Let me know what you think about this massive drop. Do you think it's anything more than what I've said in this video? And please don't say it's superhero fatigue. That is just a bunch of BS. What it is bad movie fatigue. That's what people are tired of. Bad movies.